Welcome to the True Colours podcast, where we share our views on life, relationships, and culture, exploring big questions and providing simple answers to them, with your hosts, Jay Clare and Sally Olver. Welcome to True Colours podcast.
Welcome,
hello,
listeners.
friend.
My friend!
It's been at least...
One of my favourite people in the face of this planet. Yo! It has been so long.
Yeah,
it's just too long. Too long.
Yeah, it's been a very long time.
I miss you, man. I miss you.
I miss you too. It's been a long time.
Crazy.
I think it's been like 4 months, maybe 4 months, 5 months. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was too long. That's the end of it.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, and this is our first cast back in a while, and we got a lot to celebrate. There's a lot to celebrate. Let's start by celebrating the fact that you're out of jail, bro. You're out of jail. You're out of house jail. Come on! Finally.
So we have been out of house jail for a while. No, 2 weeks, where they're like, oh, you can be out of your house for more than the restricted 2 hours. And I'm like, but we've got nowhere to go. So what's the point?
We'll just stay home. We're kind of used to it now, and my legs are tired.
Yeah, it's really
I'll
weird.
just chill. Yeah. So how does that feel?
I'm still angry.
Yeah, I know you're still angry. You're allowed to be. You've got good reason to be angry.
It's quite bizarre. Like I think we've spoken about it before, but that whole version of like the same movie, 2 versions, I still can't get how anyone still supports. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like people are still like, I stand with Dan, and you're like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, look, not everyone does as much research as you on current topics. My brother, not everyone does. Some people they rely on those sound bites that they get from, it might just be like Today Tonight or whatever, but that's their news and that's what they get. And hey, look, I would be, there are so many things that you've set me straight on, because I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And you're like, bro, no, it's not. So some people, not everyone does as much research. And it's not to say that they're stupid or they rely, sadly, they rely on what they're being fed. And that's a huge part of the population. They believe that what they're being fed is true. And they sort of roll with it.
Yeah. But you know what is true?
What is true? Talk to me. Go on.
Oh, we're from Tigers.
Stand up, bro. Let him see. Yo!
There, it's there.
Get that into your eyeballs. Huh?
Yeah,
Back,
it was weird.
Shoe back.
It was the most bizarre grand final ever, though.
It was
from my perspective, sitting on my couch.
Oh yeah. It was so weird. I posted on Instagram. I said two little Melbourneites watching the granny in WA that's held in Brizzy.
Yeah.
So weird.
Crazy.
So weird. But weird but wonderful, because we won again. Another one. Another one.
Don't turn into an arrogant fan. There's nothing worse.
Hey, listen, I'm not an arrogant fan, but I feel that it's legitimate that we're happy that we won the granny. Well, actually, we didn't do anything. We just kind of threw our fist in the air.
We did. The tears of going to all those games, cheering along.
You are a true fan, and that's one thing when I miss, like this year, like when I come to Melbourne, when I visit home, you and I go to a game together. None of that this year.
Lockdown.
Do you like my Willie Nelson look?
Yeah, it's you're very
Willie.
Yeah. Is there a reason? Are you?
Yeah, because I was dressing up in yellow and black, and then I put the
that's more
bandana
mustard,
on.
I would suggest.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, have some imagination. Okay, I'm trying to go a little bit left of center. So, put the bandana on. Wasn't working with the hair out. I was like, oh, I'll just chuck it up in braids. Yeah, cool. Started doing my makeup, and I'm like, I look like Willie Nelson right now.
Mm.
It's all right. Willie's cool. We like Willie.
I will say that you might need to actually move more into the center of the frame. You're like way to one side. Yeah, like a little bit. Yeah, there. That's where you need to be. Yeah.
Don't move over.
Otherwise, we're going to have like half face Sally, and we're like, we need more than half face.
What was that dude? Two Face? No, not Two Face. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Was it John Travolta and Nicolas Cage? What was going on with that? Do they swap heads or something?
Swap faces.
They swap faces. We don't have to swap faces because we basically look the same.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
well, not anymore because
we just like talk about random stuff, basically.
Well, how is that different to any other conversation we've ever had in the history of our friendship? It's really not, and that's the beauty of our flow.
And we did. It's disgusting.
So yes, Tigers won.
Yeah.
So fabulous.
It was so good.
It was so good.
I have a 110% man crush on Dustin Martin. So to see him, I was just like, oh man, I love to watch something, and I know that I'm watching greatness happening.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah, absolutely,
like,
yes.
Like in 20 years' time, I will be talking to my kids, be like, there was this guy. He was just so good that no one could stop him. You thought Muhammad Ali was good. You thought Michael Jordan was good. We had Dustin Martin.
Yes, we did. Did you say that last goal?
Yeah, it was
that
crazy.
Last goal was a cracker. I was sort of like, I was just like, yeah, that's it. We're done. And sort of not tuning out, but sort of relaxing a little bit, topping up the champers.
And a couple of cheesels.
Yeah, I had to bring my own cheesels. Yeah, so I was sort of like, I was getting a little bit loose. Like I wasn't as intensely watching, but I was a bit loose, and I just sort of glanced, and next thing, whoop! I'm like, how did he do that?
He's kicking some crazy goals this season.
Cracker. Yeah.
He's so good. He's so good. I can't even explain it.
Yeah. It was just what. Do you think what's your opinion on how they played last week? I loved it. Like I'm talking the prelims last week against. I just I just felt like they were just there all the time.
They didn't play great though.
No, it wasn't great, but I just loved that they, like, wherever the ball was, they seemed to be.
We literally played our best football of the whole year, the second half of the last two games.
Right.
This is what happened. Yeah. Yeah, we
save the best for last.
Shut it.
Vanessa Williams, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're all good. Hey, I'm not going to hate on you because you don't know female solo ballads from the 90s, okay? It's all right.
No, I heard someone, I can't remember who said it, someone famous on one of those TV shows was like, the thing with Tigers, you've got to beat them multiple times in one game. And I'm like, ooh, it's a very good point. Like, they just got multiple efforts,
Yes.
I think there's only one game this year that I was like, you guys suck.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, they've at least, it's just so good. I can't even explain it. Like,
doesn't it just make you happy? It's like, are you just not happy? Do you just not feel happy right now?
No.
I feel happy.
No, because I wish we were able to celebrate it. Like,
true. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The best I could go do is like have a dig at the guy who goes for Geelong at work. I'm like, it's not.
Yeah. You weren't like, and you've experienced being at a grand final. You've had that. You have that memory. So it's for you. It would be like, yeah, it was all right.
I've been to all the finals up until like
Yeah.
this moment. It's so annoying.
I know. I'm
My
sorry,
favorite, my favorite memory was like nothing. I still think nothing ever beats the feeling of winning that one in 2017. That was just like
bro.
38 years, just the jubilation of being a shit team.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was so drunk and I was taking all these, because we were here in WA, and I was taking all these photos because the Killers were playing and the Tigers just
good.
won, and I'm just, yes, I'm taking all these photos of the screen because my phone had died. So I'm like, Matt, give me your phone. He's like, oh my gosh. I'm like taking the photos of the Killers and taking the photos of the boys and blah, blah, blah. And then I busted his phone. He's just like, oh.
That is a shit wife moment.
It wasn't good. I was like, shut up. The Tigers just won the granny.
My favorite, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but I think it was the prelim of 2017 when we were playing GWS. And it was the most epic thing I've ever been a part of, because GWS are a tiny team.
Yeah.
There were no corporate seats in the prelim. So it was literally 100,000 Tigers fans in one cauldron. It was so loud and we smashed them. But the best part of it is that I decided I would ride my bike to the MCG. I got absolutely toasted. And I'm like happy as Larry. I'm like, gotta get out. And I'm riding down the middle of Punt Road between the cars. And I full on.
Brilliant.
And then there's this guy crossing between the cars, and I'm like riding. I'm like, didn't see him, or just smashed into him like real hard, right? He gets up, I get him, and goes, "Go Tigers!" It was just epic, and I just got my bike and kept on riding.
That's the best story you've ever told me. I love that. That's so cool.
It could have, in other times, it probably would have ended up in a fist fight at times.
Yeah. But the Tigers won, so I'm just happy. I'm happy the Tigers won. I'm happy you're out of jail. That's really good.
There's lots of good news happening. I'm glad you've got your nose fixed.
Thank you.
Your nose.
Yeah, so that was brutal. I was completely naive. So naive about this surgery.
Day surgery?
Yeah, day surgery. Like, people say day surgery. It's like, well, all surgery is day surgery. Like, the surgery doesn't go for multiple days.
Oh, we're currently about to do some midnight surgery.
Are you having day surgery or week surgery? How long are you going to be here in theatre? No. But I had to stay overnight. But before I had it done, I said to my surgeon, I said, so how long is it going to be before I can exercise? When can I go back to the gym? And he's a really cool, his name's Dr. Pham. He's so cool. He's just, shout out Dr. Pham. I don't know if you're ever going to watch this, but you're just awesome. And he's just a really chill, he's not a precious like over stressful guy or whatever. He's always, having fun and saying jokes and whatever. I go, oh, what do you reckon? When can I get back to the gym? And he goes, oh, Sal, we're talking 4 to 6 weeks. I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking, man, surely I can do Pilates after one. Surely.
I still don't even know what Pilates are, to be honest with you.
Pilates is it is fabulous. It's really good. It's a very, very good exercise option for me because I'm an ex-dancer. So the person who invented or designed Pilates, his name was Joseph Pilates, and he designed
someone's name.
Joseph Pilates, yeah, and he designed the technique for ballet dancers, right? So it's to help with a lot of core strength. It's helped to flexibility, mobility, agility, all of those things. And so being an ex-dancer, Pilates comes really, really easy to me, and I can sort of contort my body.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really dismissed. I really feel. I feel like you're not present. You know, we talked about the Tigers, and then you just tuned out, bro.
So Annie sent me a photo of our garden. I'm like, oh, geez, like that's developed a lot, and it's just to my left. So I was just like trying to compare it.
Look, I'm pouring my heart out about my surgery, and you're looking at your garden.
You're talking about Pilates. You're talking about your surgery.
Oh, no, I'll get back to that. So I thought, so that's what Pilates is, okay? It's for ballet dancers, but now it's like people are realizing, oh, well, it's not now, like it's probably in the last 10 years or so, that, or more, around about that.
For a long time, I thought it was pilates.
Anyway, so I thought, oh, I'll get a week, surely I'll get back to Pilates. Nah, not a chance, Bag of Bands. I got really sick. Remember that movie?
The Legend.
Yeah, so
I back and watch that actually.
Recovery has been really brutal. I've been sick, man.
Not the schnoz recovery you were expecting.
Not at all. Not at all. It was a 3.5 hour surgery.
So can I just ask a couple of questions? So the surgery was to fix a sinus issue, right? Yeah. But while you were there, you're like, you just give it a bit of a clean up kind of thing, or?
Okay, so this is what happened. Because I've got a deviated septum. I had a deviated septum. They had to reconstruct because the deviated septum was obstructing my sinus cavities. And so what was happening was they weren't draining properly. A lot of muck would stay in there and I would get an infection. And there was a cycle, there was a pattern there. So I kept getting
circle of life.
The circle of sinus. And then, but there wasn't a lot of circulation going on because of this obstruction, right? So what they had to do was they had to, not only did they have to go in and clean out, like if you ever get an opportunity to see the images of the sinus cavities, like it's delicate stuff. So they cleaned all that, scraped all that, but what they had to do first was reconstruct my nose so that they could get in there, clean it all out. And also, if they hadn't reconstructed my nose, I'd just be back there in a couple of years. Because the obstruction is like, you can clean everything out, but if you weren't going to address the obstruction, it was just going to happen again. Yeah.
So obstruction and a bit of a little
bit of a, clean up.
A little bit of a Kardashian in there as well, or?
A cut?
Kardashian. Bit of shaping and
bit of a shape. Well, they were there, so yeah.
Do they sell it like an upsell, or was it like?
No. That was what do you call it? Oh no, hang on a minute. If I wanted to do that, yeah. If I wanted to do, while you're there, can you just, but that's then now if you do that, then you're going into elective surgery. This wasn't elective.
It was elective.
This surgery was not elective surgery. It's not classified as an elective surgery because there is actually a medical condition. If I was just to go in and just get a deviated like if you were to just go, I want my deviated, you don't have a deviated septum, but if you want, I want my septum straight, then that's not elective surgery. Feel me?
But they can add the elective on top, is what you saying?
Yeah, yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can get as much done there while you're under the knife as you want. Go for gold. Get a bit of cheeks, bit of chin.
Yeah. Only if my thighs were connected to my nose, then I'd.
Hey, how your thighs going? What's going on with your thighs?
Massive COVID kilos.
COVID kilos. You got to do what I'm doing, bro. You got to do food combining. Will change your life.
Food combining. What juju is this?
You laugh. Food combining. It's all about getting that digestion, what to eat and with what. because, and this is how it goes, right? So
what do you eat with salami?
salami you would eat at night. With salami you would eat with vegetables, because you can eat anything with vegetables. You can eat with anything. Fruit needs to be eaten alone, right? So it's like this. So you wake up in the morning.
So different fruits you can't eat together, is that what you're saying?
Any fruit you can eat together, but fruit must be, so you can have like a fruit salad, that's cool, but fruit needs to be eaten alone because fruit is digested the quickest, right? So you have fruit in the morning and then that digests. Then in the lunch you have that's where you have your starchy vegetables, your rice, your beans, your like all of that kind of stuff, again with vegetables, because vegetables goes with everything. And then at night you have the meat and your vegetables. And the idea behind that is because the fruit digests first. If you have, okay, it's like this. If you have your beans and your starchies and your meat first and then your fruit, what happens is because the meat and the starchy and all of that takes so long to digest, this stuff here, fruit, that if you ate it here, it would just go. It would disintegrate, digest, right? But if you eat it here, this takes so much longer to break down. This is just sitting there and rotting. And that's where you get bloat. That's where, because this is taking too long to digest and get through the system. And then this becomes like bacteria if it sits there too long. Change your life, man. I've been doing it. Trust me.
Oh, yeah, okay. That sounds really interesting.
I'll get rid of those thighs.
You probably need to exercise a little bit.
Look at my thighs.
Oh, look at those food combination thighs.
Food combining. See? Food combining and Pilates.
Well, I'm glad that you're back on the mend now with that nose, because obviously you were.
Not really.
Well, you're better than a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Sweetie, mummy's working. Love you. That's how you do it. It's
and okay.
Parenting.
Now, I've also heard a rumor. Well, I haven't heard a rumor. I saw it on Instagram, and I don't think I've congratulated you yet in person, but like, you're officially a published author.
I am.
What's going on there?
I am, yeah. So it's a global collaboration, actually. So I've been working with an editor for a long time now, and she's awesome. She teaches me stuff, and I learn from her. And over COVID,
how do you know this editor? Sorry.
So we met like about 3 years ago, and I don't know where I was, but I saw her card. She had a card, I don't know, waiting room somewhere, and I saw her card, and I picked it up, looked on her website, and she had all these courses that she was offering, workshops and courses and stuff. And I've been to quite a few of her workshops, and it's really good. Like, it's really good if you sort of just want to, it's for me, who's like a stay-at-home mum, don't have a lot of time in my hands, but still wants to get my craft, keep my craft.
Get your groove on.
Yeah, keep it fresh, but can't commit to big things. So I do workshops now and then, and we just became good friends, and then, stayed in contact and in touch. And then over COVID, she had this idea, and she's just like, just put it out to a whole heap of writers that she knew, and just said, look, why don't we just each write a really small essay or a contribution or a poem or whatever however you want to do it, just compile them. And yeah, so the theme was COVID, Quarantiles. The title of the book is Quarantiles, and it's just about each person's, because the thing about COVID is it affects everyone in some way, shape or form, right? But it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's experience and the way that it's impacted different people is really interesting. Like the way that it would impact me.
I'm almost offended that anyone outside of Melbourne would feel like they're affected.
I have to agree. Like, seriously, what was our COVID, like a week?
Yeah, you guys had it good. And now it's like turned into the United States of WA.
I tell you what, though, I will say this. I will agree with you 100%. I've got nothing whatsoever to complain about. But
Everyone's been affected in their own way. That's
when it was
right.
written, when we, because it's just now been published, right? But when it was written, it was by all of us. It was written in the very early days, where it was. So although our WA experience was nowhere near the Melbourne, the Victorian experience or the Eastern experience, right? We did still experience that level of what is going on, what's going to happen, how long is this going to be, are people going to die, are we going to die, are my kids going to get it, are they not going to get it, what does this mean, are we going to lose jobs? Like we still experienced that.
What I would say, you experienced the hysteria.
We experienced the hysteria and nothing else.
Yeah,
it really.
And it's a very debatable topic, but like it was a hysteria-driven pandemic. Like it was like hardcore. Like
I think so many people now are just like, not so, yeah, loads and loads of people are just like, man, you insert blank, not happy.
Well,
like just
the way I put it is, everyone keeps on the things that I noticed was like, well, we don't want to be the USA or we don't want to be Europe. And it's like, well, you're comparing it to the wrong thing. Surely the comparison is what's happening in Queensland, what's happening in New South Wales.
Yeah.
We are not these countries. So,
really good.
So to compare us to these like America, the Wild West, we want freedom. I think that people lack the ability to realize that there clearly was a middle ground. Everyone's like, oh, we're here where we are because we had the lockdown. I'm like, how do you know it's because of the lockdown? Like, seriously, you didn't have another version of the not lockdown to go, here's the test case versus it. And they go, yeah, but we've had test cases across the world. I'm like, no, basically the biggest failure of all of this is basically the government. Like, and people still don't see that. Like if we wouldn't be in this position if they did their job properly. That's all there is. Dude, and they still don't.
You were saying this like 3 months ago, like early. You were saying all of this early. Remember, we had a cast, and I was like, no, I think it's really good. I think that it's good that the government is taking care of us. And you're like, I don't.
Yeah, I don't need some random person to say what I can and can't do in my life, and to use it. What was the thing I realized how they turned fear into virtue? It was quite bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, and the gaslighting that would go on where people were like, oh, you don't think you should be in lockdown. Oh, you just want to go out there and kill people. It's like, hang on, how did you go from me believing lockdown was stupid to me wanting to kill people?
Yeah.
It's
a giant leap.
It's madness. Like, it's like, because people can't realize that things can be handled in different ways. Clearly we didn't need to be in a curfew where you couldn't go out of your house after 8 o'clock. It was just like, if you just rationalize this stuff, you realize how crazy it is. It literally is crazy. You can't leave your house for more than an hour a day. Like, what do you think if I'm going to walk around the streets? Do you think I'm just going to be like coughing over it? I'm not. Like, I'm not going to be doing anything. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So they just treat everyone. This is my theory. Is they just treat everyone like the lowest common denominator. That's basically what they do. It's like, oh, what's the worst case scenario? Someone who's an idiot who's going to go out there and spread the virus because they're a selfish idiot.
Right, and they use that person and assume that everyone is going to behave that way.
Correct.
That one possibility, and just sort of project that onto the whole population is what you're saying.
I mean, it sounds harsh, but it's no different to kind of using that mentality, and it's a very controversial thing to say, and I think it's a very wrong thing. Like, to think that, so an example would be like, terrorists are Muslim. So then
Yeah.
Muslim people are all terrorists. That's exactly the mentality.
The
that
far
these
cry,
kids-
man.
Yeah, it's the same dumb, ignorant
Yeah.
mentality that we've got. And it's unfortunate that we've had to live through this, because, at the end of the day, there's the trade-offs are just so devastating. Like,
And you've
I,
experienced that. You've experienced it yourself. Like you I've known you 20 years, man, and you are someone who is you are resilient and you are strong-minded, and you know you're just not a victim at all. But
mm,
it affected you. It affected you emotionally and it affected you mentally,
yeah,
right?
there was, how long ago was that? Probably like 4 weeks ago, where
Yeah. I
I
got
was,
I got a phone call from Jason, and Jason wanted
yeah,
to talk. Yeah.
yeah, and I just hit not rock bottom, but I just had this. I can't even explain it really. Just almost, I think the only way of explaining it is a mental breakdown. Like,
Yeah.
I got to a stage where all that had just built up, and I felt that I didn't have any control of my life. I wasn't able to see my family,
Yeah.
and my dad's on his last few years of life. So, or if that, so it felt really hard to know that well, I'm trying to protect someone who really doesn't have that much. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I know that that we're possibly like leaving Victoria as well. So, I just wanted to do all this stuff like with my family, and I wasn't able to do it, and not being able to live our life because we were a threat of some kind. It was quite bizarre, and yeah, it just really got to me. And I literally was, I would say, for a good half hour, I was uncontrollably crying, like
Wow.
just sobbing, like I just had enough. I just was over it, and I thought, oh my God, I don't know what's going on here. But after releasing all of that stuff, and it was a combination as well of we all cooped up in this house, and in that morning, I think the trigger point was when I just couldn't be bothered doing anything. I just was like, I'm done. I can't even think right now. And Annie asked me for my help with something, and I was like, nah, I can't be bothered. And then I felt like I was letting it down, and just snowballed into this whole. That was just like a thing that kind of triggered the overarching sort of emotional.
There was already a culmination of disappointment and depression and all that existing there. It just needed that spark.
Yeah.
And that was
so
the spark.
And I literally rang, I was Beyond Blue or Lifeline or whatever it was, to kind of be like, I just need someone to talk to vent it out, because there was so much I could talk to Annie about it, because she's also going through the same thing that I'm going through. So and I would say that I felt helpless. I wouldn't say that I was suicidal, but I would say that I was thinking about what's the point? Like, what's the point of all this world that we live in? And then I had a session with a counsellor who me and Annie met with earlier this year. And she was fantastic. I really connected with her, so I thought I'd connect with her again. And it was great to just talk to someone about, like, dude, you're not an outlier here. This is very common to what people are living through. You shouldn't feel like this is odd or weird. And she's like, you need to think about your personal situation even more. Like, even compared, she's like, you've just had a baby.
Correct.
You lost your father-in-law.
That's right.
You're feeling stuff with your own father.
Yes.
You've got no control. You've got no connection with people. You're a very highly connected person. That's how your personality thrives. So, you almost, you kind of understand what a caged animal would feel like. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but
well, it's essentially what's happening. It's essentially what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
so
yeah.
But what I would say is that that outlet that I did have was good, because after that I felt great. I felt like
Yeah.
it was like an emotional, like I've never felt that way. The closest I've ever felt like that
Yeah.
before was kind of when we lost our friend Andrew, my best friend at the stage.
I remember you saying that to me when you called, and I thought to myself, it's interesting. It's interesting because you called it. You called it, and we even talked about it on this show when we were talking about COVID and keeping everyone protected and all that. And you would say to me, yeah, but Sal, like, what about the mental health implications on society? Like, no one's talking about that. And, you called it. And so, just to give our listeners some context, Andrew wasn't just a friend of Jason's. Andrew was like a brother, and, like a nephew to your parents, and like a brother to you, and like a legit brother to you and Dave. You guys, even before you lived together, you had that dynamic. You were super close, and he passed away. He was gone way too soon, and you
Ironically, from a virus as well.
From a virus.
Yeah,
He passed from a virus. That was horrible when we went through that. That was horrible. But you said to me in this recent relapse that you've had, you said that you liken the feeling to that, like it was that strong. And I think we need to give some context here, because the I don't like to say a mental breakdown, but the emotional and mental reaction that you had, you said you hadn't felt that since Andrew died. That's strong, and we're talking about someone like yourself who is a strong, resilient. Like I'm saying, you're not someone who suffers from mental illness, or not that. I mean, that's another discussion we'll get into. But you don't typically have those problems, and even you were affected to that degree. And I think it's important that we discuss this, because we live in Australia, and we are really, really blessed, so blessed that we have 10 sessions that we can use a year. The government gives us 10 sessions a year. There's talk of that increasing next year. And I tell you, since I was I'm 44 now, since I was probably 23, 22, 23, there hasn't been a year that's gone by that I haven't used all my 10. And even if things are going great, I still use every last one. I feel like it's my responsibility to myself.
Gotta cash them in.
No, well, look, I feel like it's not only my responsibility to myself. I feel like it's my responsibility to my husband and my kids, that my mental health is in check, because I think as society we're getting better, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there. I don't think we have a good enough understanding about what this monster is and how it can impact human beings and those around them. It's really important, a really important conversation.
Well, it's kind of interesting that it's the flow of this conversation.
There's flow.
It is working really well. Like, I think we've got two other topics that we want to talk to, which kind of work well into this mental health sort of territory. And I'm not sure if you actually ended up watching it in the end, Childhood 2.0.
I watched it, and I watched it with my son. I watched it with my 9. Yeah, no, I let him watch it. I did. Let's give some context. So my 9-year-old son is he's a highly intelligent individual. So he is able to make sense of very big concepts. So I needed to watch it because I wanted to watch it so that we could have a discussion about it on the show tonight. And I asked him, did he want to watch it with me? And I said, if it gets too full on, we stop it and whatever. But there were themes in that documentary that I allowed him to watch because I thought it was important, and we had just we talked about it like I mean, I'm going on off in a bit of a tangent, but I think sometimes we shelter our kids from too much, and when we shelter them
Kind
from
of the
too
overarching
much,
theme of that doco, really.
yeah, when we shelter them I'm saying when we shelter them from things
Reality.
in the world, you shut down the opportunity for conversation. And I think that was one of the most important things that came out of that documentary for me, is the importance to, you got to talk to your kids. You got to be legit with your kids. Like, and the thing is, they know. All right, I'm sorry. The documentary was Childhood 2.0, social media dangers, and it's on YouTube for anyone that wants to tune in. I would say definitely watch it.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's raging about the whole social dilemma on Netflix.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it kind of just told me what I already knew. It's like, oh, they're following you and using your data. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty.
This is old news. Yeah.
Yeah. But the great line I did like out of that, there's only two people who refer to their clients as users: drug dealers and social media. Oh, that was a very good line, actually.
Brilliant.
But the Childhood 2.0 really demonstrates that real correlation between drugs and addiction and social media. But boy, oh boy, was that a really revealing documentary, like looking at what and giving us the perspective of what we grew up in versus what the kids of today
Isn't it sad? It's really sad.
The disconnection, like even so, the one that was really revealing to me was just how attached to these devices basically that the device is them, right? That's the way I would explain it.
It's like a limb.
Yeah, and when they were starting to talk about, so for example, some really confronting topics in lines of like the worst one was around that grooming stuff that was happening. Man, that was intense. Like,
do you want to just elaborate for the listeners, like what that actually was?
Yeah, so there's an organization called BARC. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but literally they're I think they're an NFP of some kind, and they set themselves up basically as a pseudo intelligence agency to protect children, is the way I would.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And they would set up fake profiles of underage girls. And man, like there was this example of one where they set it up, and I think it was a 15-year-old girl, clearly stated on the profile. And then within seconds, like dudes would start messaging him, and you're like, to the point where it's like, man, like this is intense. What is wrong with these perverts?
What about the 8-year-old? The really, really young one. Now, what I didn't understand about that, what I didn't really get. So yes, you're right. So this incredible organization, what they've done, they're all parents, and they are making these false profiles. So they want to catch out the predators. And one of the Instagram profiles was a really young girl, like she was like 8 or maybe even 7, like very, very young. So what were they doing? Were they putting hashtags or something so that the predators would?
Oh, I didn't really understand how they.
They must have, because how else would they have
found them?
Yeah.
But taking, so that was probably the most confronting part of it, like just to understand that, oh man, like you've got a young girl, I've got a young girl. Yeah. Like to understand, well, how do you, with that knowledge in hand, how do you balance, the ability to be part of what the world is now while still making them aware? And I think it is to that point of always being open and honest. Like open book. You can tell me anything. I will not get angry at you for anything, because nothing that you do at your age is ever your fault. That's just the reality.
Yeah, right? It's not. Like, and I love that my son, same child, the 9-year-old, a few weeks ago, he came to me and he said, look, Mum, there's something I want to tell you. I'm really scared. And I'm like, dude, you just tell me, okay, and we'll sort it out together. And I'm so glad that he already knows, hang on, I've done the wrong thing, but I'm going to tell her. And it's actually going to be like, I didn't need to tell him that. Or obviously that's already been poured into him, his whole upbringing. And that's another thing that I'm so passionate about is when I say we've got to talk to our kids, it's not one conversation. It's not one conversation where we sit them down and say, you can tell me anything. We love you. Da da da. You got to tell them every day, multiple times a day, because that one conversation is not going to do anything. It's got to be the culture in your household, right? So he came to me and he told me that he'd been looking at pornography on YouTube, right? And I said to him, I'm so proud of you, man. Like the courage that it took for you to come and tell me and expose yourself like that. It's obviously not, oh, Mum, I broke a cup. Like it's something pretty serious. And I said, you know, pretty much, but in a different, I framed it differently, but exactly what you're saying. It's actually not your fault. It is your fault if you continue from now that we've had the discussion and you keep going back, now we've got a problem, right? But the fact that you were curious and it was so readily available to you and XYZ, that's actually not your fault. I actually understand that, you know, you're at an age where you kind of curious about things, like you want to understand things and whatever, you know, and I was just so proud of him. I was so proud that he just knew that he was able to do that, and we were going to have a reasonable two-way discussion.
Did you understand the path of what took him to that?
Just he knows how to type sex. That's the path, man.
So that's all. Like he'd learnt about sex and then was like curious and wanted to find out more.
Cousin, it's everywhere. Sex is everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're watching. It's on every. It's like the lyrics in just pop music and just on the radio now. Even if they edit the swear words, the content, it's all there. Any show that is like PG is a joke now. PG is an absolute joke. PG is what M would have been out in our day. Like PG now is like full-blown swearing. Right?
Can you drop the F-bomb in PG?
Probably not the F-bomb, but everything else is there. PG, absolutely. I can't remember what movie it was, but yeah, we watched one recently and it's all there. Love scenes are there. My kids know what sex is. They know what it is. Like we've had the discussion. I mean, we've had to talk to them about it way too early, but we've had to like get.
I explained to someone like, well, I think not someone, Annie, when we were watching. I was like, I didn't really even care about girls until I was like 14 years old. Like,
yeah,
I don't really like. It wasn't like I'm not even wondering about what sex was, or even before that. Like, in fact, it's like sex. What's that kind of? Yeah, I don't care.
I tell you what, like the promiscuity now is rife, and my kids go to a good, clean school, and it's still in pockets, you know. So you've got to just be ahead of the eight ball, and you've got to be able to have these discussions openly and take the what's the word I'm looking for? Anesthesia's mess with my head, man, big time. Take the novelty off it. You got to take the novelty off and just neutralize it. Just go, this is what it is, you know. And also, like, circling back.
And everything depicted out there is not reality. That's the other thing.
It's not reality.
And I think that's one of the things that I kind of got from that childhood photograph. Just the way that adolescents sort of entering into the world of connection between the sexes, and it's like they're hooking up before they're not even talking in real person.
No.
So Hey, yeah, I like you. Yeah, yeah. Can you show me your boobs?
Yeah, and that's it. All
Here's
right.
here's a dick pic that you never asked for.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like,
And
what is going
that
on?
poor girl, she goes, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up and I'm like, whoa, I'm not even awake yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But circling
And
back to your question, you go, how do you mediate that, when it's everywhere and you can't escape it? I think, talking to your kid, you got to talk to your kids. That's number one. Number two, parents need to grow a pair. Okay? These kids they don't have the money to go out and get these phones. The parents are buying them phones. So the parents need to grow a pair, and they need to go, you know what? Nah, you're not having a phone.
I mean, technically, you can't get bullied if you don't have a phone. Because that was the part I was like, man, like the stuff around suicide was so depressing. Like,
It was
like,
devastating, man. It was
man,
devastating.
wasn't something like 1 million and something kids in America in a year period had admitted themselves for either psychological or self-harm or
suicide attempts.
Suicide attempt. 1 million.
Yeah.
That is
And did you see
crazy.
the correlation between the increase in suicide in direct proportionate directly related to social media,
In social
the
media.
rise of social media?
So it's interesting. We did a topic, probably one of our first ones around, is social media good or bad? I got to tell you what, right now.
Yes, we did. Hey,
right
listen.
now, I have 100% swung towards the bad side.
Look, I still love social media, but I'm a 44-year-old woman who knows how to handle myself and knows how to handle her accounts. Right? But so it's two different discussions. And I am a marketing person as well. I'm an advertising person. So for me, there is an element of entertainment in social media for me, I will admit, right? However, when you're talking about kids, that is a different discussion. And I don't think they need to be anywhere near it. They don't need it.
I will give you a harsh bit of reality as well. It sounds like you might not like what you're going to hear.
What's that?
But I still think that at a level, you have some level of addiction to whatever platform that you're using. You might not want to admit it, but if I told you to just stop using it right now, you'd find it hard to do that.
I don't reckon I would.
Really?
Absolutely.
All right, challenge is on then.
Cool.
No Insta for 2 weeks.
I won't do it for 2 weeks. For real. Like, if you, like, I'm not, this is what I'm saying to you. I use it because there is a level of entertainment in it for me. I could do 2 weeks without social media like that. Challenge accepted, man. Like,
okay, I like the experiment. Let's do it.
Doesn't bother me. No worries.
Locked in.
What? Well, okay. Can I just ask you though? What about like my kids' basketball teams and stuff are on Facebook chat? What am I supposed to do with that? Oh, sorry, Jason is not allowed.
Oh, you can do Facebook chat.
So what's it social media?
No, it's just the messaging. I'm like talking about like on your news feed and scrolling through the trash on there.
Doesn't bother me. I've done it many times. I've done it heaps of times before. I have done it for months. I think I did a Facebook, like no Facebook for like a year once before Instagram came.
Or have you been 0 platforms at the same time?
Whenever I do a sabbatical, I do full sabbatical, except for YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube's social media.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, you're talking about Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
No stress, man. 2 weeks done. What's
today?
What's
YouTube?
What's today?
What's
the date? The 28th.
29th? 28th?
Cool.
He's like, I can do this. Easy
I
done.
I can though. And that's probably why I use it so much. It's because I know.
Yeah.
I know how to. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I know that I could go through a phase where I could go 6 months and just go.
Do you understand why you use it?
Yeah, I do.
So why do you think you use it?
I use it because I said because there's a level of entertainment for me.
Like in the sharing or the
in the
consuming?
sharing. I'm a writer. I am someone who is. That's the way I express myself. It's the way.
Do you think you need social media to be a writer?
No, of course I don't.
I'm just asking you questions. You do.
Of course I don't. Of course
Yeah.
I don't, man. No way. That's not. I can differentiate between the two like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is for me. It's a level of entertainment. I love taking photos. I love like connecting the images to like almost a mini blog, if you like, because I'm a writer. That's the way
why, and this is not a judgment thing. I'm just trying to understand it because I try to get my head around this stuff as well. It's like, but why do you need to put it out there? Why isn't it just for you? Aren't photos just for you? Aren't the words just for you? Or
because I choose to.
Yeah, but why? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, are you looking for something in return, or do you crave the interaction? Do you like the likes?
The likes I couldn't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Nate asks me all the time, how many followers you got at True Colours podcast? I said, I don't know. I don't look at that stuff. I am someone who is a very outspoken, extroverted person. I'm the sort of person who I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? So, like it or don't like it, I don't give a shit. Like I will put whatever I want out there whenever I want because I can and I will. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't give a stuff. I don't care what anyone has to say. Oh, she's posted again. Oh, she's posted. You know what? Unfollow me. That's always been my attitude. Too much for you? Unfollow me. I don't care.
Be honest though. If I unfollowed you, you get offended. You would.
But yeah,
I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying, but if I did, that's like.
Yeah, hang on. Wait a minute. But we need some context. That's you. You're like my brother, man. If you unfollowed me, I'd be gutted. If someone else unfollowed me, I'd be like, cool, post.
I did have a recent long term friend unfollow me on Instagram. I got really offended, and then I was about to write something really harsh back, and Annie, my rock, was like, "Why are you even worried?" I'm like, "I know. I don't even know why I'm worried. She's a loser."
So if you so what you're saying to me, this is interesting conversation. So what you're saying to me, if you have like an Instagram account or a Facebook account, is there this sort of unspoken number of posts you're allowed in a week or a month? So if you've got the platform, if you're using it,
there's saturation. Yeah, I would say that there's.
So what's the problem with saturation?
It's annoying because you don't feel up other people's feed.
Okay, so then
you're like, I'm not, and this is not a go at you as well, by the way. But like, I hate when all I see is the one person. You know, like, okay, I've heard from you today.
So then why wouldn't you unfollow that person and just go, too much?
Because it's rude. It feels rude.
See? Can you see the problems that social media cause? Those intricacies, man. The etiquette.
Here's something.
Unspoken etiquette.
Here's something you'll enjoy. I was randomly, like one night, like last week, I was like, I'm just going to write down all my thoughts and I was like, what's good, what's bad, what can I improve, what's on my mind and stuff. And I had this really massive revelation. I was like, I truly do not care what people think about me.
Yeah.
But why do I care about what other people think? Does that make sense?
I don't care. Say it again. I don't care what people think about. So you don't care what people think about you?
I don't care about their opinions about me, but for some reason, I care what they think. If I think like what their ideas are, opinions are dumb, it bothers me big time.
So if their ideas deviate from your ideology, you've got a problem with that.
No, I don't have a problem with it. It just annoys me. Like, I'm like, how could you think that? Are you dumb? Like, it's the only way I can explain it. Like I think it's a bit of a know-it-all thing. I think I'm a bit of a know-it-all. I don't care. I'm happy to admit that. But like, when you like, it's that example, that same movie, two versions, and the whole thing with Dan Andrews. I'm like, how? Like, I see intelligent people supporting this guy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, what am I not saying? Can you explain it to me?
Oh, look.
Oh, he's just trying his best, and I'm like, what? That's not good enough.
Oh, I tell you what, like, to be a politician.
Who would choose that?
Like Kanye, choose it.
Like, yeah.
Kanye wants to be president.
The Don. Like, why would that? I don't even know. It's one of the most controversial things that you could say today, but I still don't get why he's hated as much as he is. I don't understand it at all.
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Because what we were talking about very early on is people only get sound bites. People are satisfied with sound bites. And so there are things that he's said and done that aren't cool, but then people exacerbate that and make a cartoon character out of that, and don't like. My idea of Trump would be so much more limited than what yours is.
Yeah, let me get that. I'm saying to everyone right now is, if you want to make money right now, your best bet right now is to put money on Donald Trump winning the election, because for some reason all the polls are saying like he's going to lose, and I'm like, it's paying $2. Hey, if you drop $100, you'll have $300. Like,
yeah.
My boss even made a $500 bet with me. I'm like, I'll take that.
Yeah, 500.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm pretty confident that, and this is what I need to explain. So I'm not like Donald Trump's the greatest. I just find the hatred and the as I like to refer to it, the orange man bad syndrome. I just find it bizarre. Like, what was the one that I said to my boss the other day? He's the one, like, he's American, so we have really good conversations about it. I'm like, I don't think he's either a good or a bad person. He's just a person. He's no different to Obama. He's no different he's just a different version of these. Well, he's probably less of a politician, but all these other people, they're just politicians. They're not. Yes. I don't find politicians to be good people whatsoever.
Well, but the other thing is, we only see, and I don't know a lot about politics at all. I always say there was this time where I got really into politics and I really enjoyed it, and then I just kept getting frustrated because I didn't feel I was being told the truth about anything, right? So I just couldn't stay there. But what were we just saying? I've lost my train of thought. We're talking about Donald Trump. I don't know. I've lost it.
But
I'll get it back.
Let's segue into, like, we're going to finish up on you dive deep into the conversation between Kanye West and Joe Rogan. Just give me a couple of highlights. What did that do for you, Sal? What is your reaction to Kanye on Rogan?
Absolutely loved it, man. Every second. I loved it. I am a big Kanye fan, as you know. I absolutely love Kanye West. I love his art. I love his mind. I think he's really super misunderstood. Same thing like Trump. Like, you know, Kanye's had a few moments that probably weren't his best, and unfortunately they were caught on camera. And
It's
you know,
on a
he's
Grammy.
just
I love it.
yeah, the Grammy. I love Taylor Swift. You know, we've
greatest moment ever in those awards, I have to say.
Ever, yeah. I mean, it's sad that Taylor had to go through what she went through, but it's definitely an iconic Grammy moment. There's no doubt. But I've watched a lot of interviews with Kanye West, and I would say that my feeling is this is the first time I've actually seen someone interview Kanye West that was respectful of not the first time I've seen someone be respectful of Kanye per se, but someone who let him talk, just let him talk. And the way Joe Rogan did it, giving Kanye that space allowed Kanye to give context to his ideas, because his ideas they're very different to a mainstream way of thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Joe just sat there and listened, like, not, and I say this to my husband, people think listening means waiting your turn to speak. That's not listening. Listening is actually being present and getting into, like, really hearing what the person's saying and flipping your own, like, suspending your own ideology and going, hang on, what's that person got to say? This is what I think. I'm cool with that. But what are they actually saying? Let me try and understand it from their perspective. That's what listening is, right? And I just felt like Joe Rogan did that exceptionally well. And it allowed Kanye the space to explain these crazy ideas, but you go, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Wow. Like whereas I think, and maybe the nature of Joe Rogan's show, because it goes for like 3 hours, he had the ability to do that. Whereas if if you've got a 10-minute interview on Entertainment Tonight or whatever, obviously it's very choppy, and that you got to ask another question. You can't afford that kind of space. But it was just so good. And Kanye is adamant that he's going to run for president. His idea is
this time around. Is it like?
I don't. Well, it can't be, can it?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know how it works. Yeah.
I think he said 2024 actually.
Mm.
Yeah, he did say 2024. Yeah, what else?
Is there anything specific that you were like a poignant sort of thought or idea that he had that you're like, oh, I never thought that about you, and
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, so much about what he was saying. Like, but I always, I was always waving the Kanye flag. I'm like, nah, man, I love this guy. Like, he's so good.
I'm a Kanye convert. I used to hate the guy up until
man. I always knew he was a genius. I always knew it. I was like, his music's too ridiculous. But the thing is, like,
I will say I've never rated his music. I still don't.
But you don't like that music. That's not something that.
What do you mean I don't like that music?
You don't like his music at all. You don't like Kanye's music at all.
No, not really. I probably haven't heard enough of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
all I know songs like Gold Digger and stuff.
Yeah, but that's very pop. There's other stuff that you probably really like, man. I think he's awesome. But the thing is, like, he refuses to box himself as just a rapper. He's a fashion designer, and he's a, he's
buy his white t-shirts for $300 or whatever it is.
No, he works with Adidas. He works with the Gap. Like, he's a designer. He's a legit designer now. And what else does he do? He's his own CFO. That was cool. That was cool when he was talking about that. Like, he manages all his finances. He does it all. Like normally a lot of these like big celebrities that they need a CFO, but he does it all. And what he was saying was, because Joe was saying, well, what are you going to do that's different? Like how are you going to make this different or better? And Joe asked him about the military, and asked him about education, and asked him about health, all of that kind of stuff. And there was one thing that he said that I was just like, that makes sense. That makes sense. He said that he feels, because of the way that he's wired, like he said he feels confident that he will make solid decisions when all the information is in front of him. He said, I'm a producer. I'm an artist. I'm a producer. I can't do anything. And he is. He's a producer. He's a musician. He's a rapper. He's got a lot under his belt. So what he's saying is, like, when he's got everything, when he has access to all the information on any given topic, then he can synthesize it and execute it then. So that I found that interesting.
The thing that's really I've liked about him of recent time is I guess how he's been talking about sort of black culture in America and the mindset of black people. Did he touch much on that at all? Like that whole
he did.
What is that? That plantation mentality. It was very. I find that stuff really interesting. Like, and it's the thing that I'm very strong on is that whole growth mindset, and you know, not being a victim. You know, taking all the opportunities that you have in life, and rather than looking through a lens of, oh, poor me, that you are an individual and you have every opportunity to do what you need to do. Understanding, again, I always say that not everyone starts from the same place, but we all have the same opportunities in life. I think he's got a really interesting message when it comes down that path. I think that a lot more of the black culture in America, I think, really needs to listen to.
Yeah. He is. He's definitely not someone who just rests on his laurels and poor me. Nah, he forges forward all the time and does it well. Presidency, I don't know. I don't know enough about politics to make any comment on that. But but he feels confident. He feels confident. He was saying how Oprah approached him and was like, "Nah, man, don't do it. You don't want to do it. Like, you know, you're gonna have to upskill yourself on foreign policy and that policy and this policy." And he's like, "So that's what I'll do." And he was saying, like, he doesn't like it when someone decides for him that he can't do something. And I understand that. You know, when someone goes, "Oh, Sal, you don't want to do that," it's like, you let me decide. You let me make my own mistakes. Like, you don't get a say on what I do. You don't get a say.
It's how the best learning happens, apparently.
Get in the ring. Like, you know, and I think that's all he's saying. Like, just let me in the ring. Let me have a go. If it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. But he's not going to let the potential of it not working, him just turn around and go, no, I won't do it then. No. So I respect that. I respect. And the other thing, as a Christian, I really respect that he's got his head around. As Christians, we believe that everything that you have, all that you are blessed with, comes from the Lord. Like, it's just up to us to execute it, right? But he's like, everything he says, like when he's talking about his talents, when he's talking about his brain, when he's talking about all of these different things, he's always like, because God's given me, because God, like he's yeah. That was interesting. But
Kanye,
the
2024.
Christian, apparently, unless he just decides not to, which he
He'll
can.
He'll probably be up against The Rock or something like that, and they'd be like, "Yeah, this is amazing."
What's happened to politics, man? But what he did say, what I really like, is he's really big on, like, he really wants to push farming policy, really good eating, health. Like, he really wants to promote a message of health and unity. He said something really interesting. It's like I don't know, like you could say it's a bit of a utopic.
Do you know
Desire,
you know what the irony in using the word utopic or utopian view is? It actually means the never reachable.
Right. Well,
you're probably saying it right then.
Well, it has to be reachable at some point. Like people need to work together. People need to care. That's what he was saying. Like people need to care about each other. Like that. He's sort of coming from that vantage point.
There's this whole idea of what is it like? If you put away all the differences, we still probably most people have 95% in common that they believe in. It's just that little differences, and for some reason, it's become so polarizing it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like this is the part to me that doesn't make any sense now. It's just like how an opinion on something, like, and it seems ironic that I'm talking about seeing as I say, like how much it annoys me that other people have these opinions. But it doesn't mean I don't think they should have them. Like,
yeah.
Whereas there's a part of the world now that's like your opinion is invalid. It doesn't mean anything. You're either evil or good because you have this opinion, which is so dumb. It's so vapid. It's so shallow.
Yeah.
To think that my perspective on anything when people have a certain opinion, I always see it as my task is how can I make them think about it differently? But that's the way that's,
right.
Like you got to ask them the right questions. You got to give them some perspective.
You have to have perspective.
But then you realize that, one of the hardest thing to do, I 100% believe the hardest thing to do is change people's minds. It's so hard. Like when someone's got an ingrained belief about something, changing a mind is it's part of the human condition, I think. Like we're just so attached to these ideas. Like we don't like to feel dumb. We don't like to feel like we believed in something that was silly. But I think over time,
it's the humiliation, isn't it, of being so wedded to an idea and then someone smashing that idea and then feeling stupid, and you're not stupid.
And it's the greatest example I give is like, people, I need to use him as an example because of how heralded he was. And, is say Obama, like he had a great opportunity to do so much good. I'm actually like, I would go back and say how disappointed in basically the outcome of an Obama administration. But
this is what I was going to say before. I just remembered, right? When we talk about, sorry to interject, but I think this is important. When we talk about, this is where I lost my train of thought, because when we talk about politicians, and I think this would go for politicians, celebrities, pop stars, art, like across the board, right? What we see is like I've wanted to do X, Y, Z, whatever, fill the blank, but he's got to go through a process. Like he can't just go and do whatever he wants, can he? It doesn't matter who you are. Even if you are the leader of the free world, like you still have to, there is still a process that you've got to go to. So it's easy for people to go, oh, Obama didn't do enough. But isn't there that sort of blockage on the way?
But you still have the opinion, and this is the perfect caveat to what I was basically saying, is like what you can do is you can be strong about what your morals and ideas are. Right? Whether or not you can actually get them through is you can be strong about this stuff. And the one that I always say is like, if someone like that was such a great person of character, you do realize that on his first term, he campaigning into the office and being anti-gay marriage, right? This is the thing that people don't get, right? He was not pro-gay marriage and then made a flip during his tenure because you know why? People don't like to hear this, but he obviously is a black guy. I want to get the black vote. And there is a certain sentiment of homophobia within the black community. It's just a reality of that, something that actually exists. So he had to play that. He probably was always pro-gay marriage, but he played that, he politicized a belief. And it's something at a core of a belief such as that, I think is just, that's where that's integrity for me. I don't like where people flip flop on such big.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking you. Like, wouldn't he? I mean, you see it in, like, just if you watch a series like The West Wing or something. Like, there are advisors. There are people that are writing your script. There are advisors. There are people saying, nah, we don't want more of this, less of that. So you're never really getting the real, no, whether it's
unless you get a Trump, and you kind of get the real deal. And I think that's what I appreciate about whether you hate him, you like him.
You know what you're getting.
It's just, he's not a politician. He's just a guy who comes there and he opens his mouth and it's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what has he done for his people? And if you sort of lay it all back and you all lay it on the line, it's like, he's done a lot for people.
Like what? Like, what has he done?
If I use the example of, say, the African American community, he has, for one, created opportunity zones. So that's extra funding in predominantly Black areas, which has helped create wealth growth for Black communities. He's given 10-year funding to what's known as, what they refer to them as, predominantly Black universities, colleges. They typically only had year to year. He gave them 10-year funding. Like, here you go. He removed all these laws for like petty crimes and stuff that were overly affecting Black people. So like all these people now, like there's this recent one where he pardoned this woman who was in jail for 30 years for like having marijuana in her home or something like that. So he's doing all these things, which is helping the Black community, right? All the stimulus that he did prior to obviously COVID's just a thing that, but before that, you had record levels of unemployment for Black people in America. So I see it as like, if I put these things in a row, I'm like, I don't get the racist thing. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
So do you think his like business mind has really helped these sorts of issues? Because it sounds like a lot of it's economic.
Well, what's he doing like at the moment? He's signing all these unprecedented peace treaties around the world, like between all these Middle Eastern countries. It's just mind-boggling what he's actually getting done. I know there are lots of things that I don't agree with what he's sort of advocating for, but you know, you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. And
you don't just write someone off in its entirety just because you disagree with one or two things. Exactly.
Like I would say, is he trying to do good by the American people? Yes. If I wanted someone to lead our country, I would want their priority to be Australia. Who cares about it sounds harsh, but who cares about the rest of the world? Look about your country first, and then what can you do? I think that's
I agree.
That's the order.
It's biblical.
Yeah, well,
you got to look for at your home and your house before you go outside and look after others.
And it's hilarious because, you know, he said I will agree, he's said some horrible things in the past. You know, there's things that he was caught on the hot mic saying about, you know, grabbing women by the whoop, whoop. But at the same time.
But you know what? I will say he was just busted. I bet there are a lot of other people in the biz that are using the same language. They just wasn't caught on tape.
You got to remember, this is before he's president. This is just him as a businessman. He's talking about when he's out and about. And he's just telling you the truth, man. He's like, yeah, I'm this rich guy. They let you. And it's like, well, are you shaming him because he's telling you the truth about what being a rich person and having money is like? And he's not saying that he's forcibly, you know, attacking women. He's saying that they're being sexually fraternizing. Yeah. So you're then saying that it's not nice that a younger woman cannot want to do dubious things, fraternize with an older man. It wasn't the whole movement about feminism and stuff like sexual promiscuity and being able to do what you do, but then you flip it around on its head and judge. I don't know. All this stuff is so confusing to me.
It is. It's like, where's the line with anything? Where's the line? It's too confusing.
It is, and that's where you talk about that, and that's what I don't like about society today. You talk about something, someone will judge you. I'm just trying to understand things. That's what people don't get.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't consider myself. I don't believe in anything that is hatred at all against anyone. I just don't want anyone to tell me what I can and can't do. That's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
don't want to hurt anyone.
It's the same. Well, that's kind of my philosophy as well. Like, when you were saying how, changing minds and that sort of thing, like, changing minds to me, I'm not interested in changing anyone's mind. I don't care. I flat out don't care. And subsequently, I don't want anyone try and change my mind. Like, I respect you. I respect your value system. If it's different to mine, so be it. I am not going to project any of my ideas or value system onto anyone. I feel pretty solid in where I'm at. Like, there's always room for improvement, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at my age. I'm not trying to project that, either on the love bus or you're not, right? But like, if someone thinks that that's weird or not cool enough or, not smart enough or whatever, I just don't care. I don't care.
Get on the
love bus, man. It's heaps fun.
I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. It's been a long time, actually.
It's good chats. Good chats, bro.
100%. And so good to see you, and so good to talk to you.
So good to see you. So how am I supposed to promote this podcast if I'm on a ban?
No, don't go on your ban. You love it too much. I can't do it to you.
I love it, man.
You love it.
I'm a stay-at-home mum, bro.
Are you going to give a shout out to where you can actually get this book of yours and
Amazon, Quarantales, Amazon. Buy it, don't buy
it. Is there anywhere I can just read what you wrote without buying it?
Absolutely. I'll send it to you.
I'll be like, I read this one story from there. Great, 5 stars.
Bro, I will. Of course I'll do that for you.
Do I get it in a PDF format and distribute? Can I share it?
Distribute it? It's just get you because you're my best mate.
You're out there you're like everyone's like out there on the world going, Sally Olver, torrent book. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your week.
I love you, man. I really do, and I miss you so much. This is ridiculous. How can I not have been home at least 3 times by now? What's going on?
Well, it's going to be interesting once we move. I don't know how you make that happen. I will never see you ever again. I'll be like, I'm heading to Melbourne on the weekend. Do you want to make sure you're heading to Melbourne?
Look, we can do that. We can absolutely do that, and I have no problem in just coming to New South and just seeing you. That'd be cool. Then I can just spend all my time with you and Annie and the kids. It's great. Everybody wins. Happy days.
All right, mate.
All right.
Next week, and we'll do this next week.
Let's do it. Love you, man.
I would love to talk about Christianity.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool.
All right, man. See ya. Bye.